Rico knows one team. Woke up early in the morning, scrolling on my phone. Open up TikTok, see my man Rico knows. He's talking college football, all the spreads and all the trends. Say you wanna win money, listen to me, man. I tell my lady, go make me a bagel. I gotta listen to what Rico gotta say, though. He got the numbers and he got the picks, so I gotta listen to my man Rico. I'm just scrolling on my phone, seeing what Rico knows, seeing what he know about the UFC and college football, the prop picks, all the spread picks, the plus money underdogs, all the best picks. Gotta listen to my man Rico, he's a wizard. I told my girl Rico, say listen to the lizard, and we cash it out, all the props. We cash it out, all the props. Listening to Rico, I'm just scrolling on my phone, seeing what he knows, seeing what Rico knows, seeing what Rico knows. I'm just scrolling on my phone, scrolling on my phone, scrolling on my phone. I'm just scrolling on my phone, seeing what Rico knows, seeing what he know about the UFC and college football, the prop picks, all the spread picks, the plus money underdogs, all the best picks.
Hey, what up, YouTube, TikTok, all you guys out there? Shout out to me. Hey, shout out to coaches. I know you're watching me right now on the Discord server. I want to make sure you can hear me, bro. Welcome to the Results Show, guys. Had a pretty good night last night. If you weren't watching Fight Night, I don't know what to tell you. I do want to start off this video by telling you guys that we have the same about 40 to 50 people on the Discord server every single night for the fights. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of you MVPs that don't show up, and it just boggles my mind because we made a lot of money last night, and it wasn't just the videos, it wasn't just the picks, it wasn't just the chart. We're sitting there on live stream every single time. You come to Discord, you go on the stage, the guys are sitting in the stage right now, they're watching right now, right? But all you got to do is come to the channel, connect it on your Patreon. I don't understand how some of you guys can't connect. We have a tutorial on how to connect. You got to go to connected apps. The first time you use Patreon, you don't want to use the app the very first time. You got to use Safari or a web browser, a laptop, a desktop, whatever it is. And you just got to use the regular website version of the app, or of the website, excuse me. You go to your Patreon, you go to settings, you go to connected, right? Connected apps, and then you find Rico Knows server, and then you're in on the Discord. There's no added steps. It literally takes 30 seconds. And some of you guys just implode and can't figure it out. And then you never get to watch the live streams with us. And you never get to see the interaction with all the other MVPs. But we got the same guys there every now and then. I know we only have 300 seats in there, but we only fill up during the football season. On the UFC side, maybe sometimes we'll get over 100 people, but it just frustrates me. It sucks because I want to help you guys. I want to help you maximize your profits. Some of you guys care about your money, then some of you don't. I don't know what it is. Nonetheless, enough of that stuff. Let's talk about this fight card. Before the fight card, I made videos, or excuse me, I made one video, and I told you guys this fight card felt very chalky. It felt very chalky. It felt like all the favorites were going to win. Please be aware of this, and the trick is to try to figure out which underdogs were actually going to win. And at the end of the night, only 2 underdogs won. Shout out to Vegas. They had it right from the start, right? Vegas is the one who dictates who's a favorite or an underdog. And then the rest of us got to try to figure out where are you going to get that money. Now, there's going to be some people out there. Like I'm telling you this right now. There are going to be some people out there that aren't impressed with what we did last night. We went 6-0 on locks. Do you guys understand how impossible it is to sit around and call a UFC fight a lock? I need you to understand. Now, look, my job, I love my job. If you ask me, my job is the easiest job in the world because I love it. But the truth is, no matter what I say, it's got to come true. Like, I can't afford to miss for 52 weeks in a row. Like, I can't afford to miss for 3 years straight. I just have to be on at all times, or I lose. I lose everything. I lose my standard of living. I live a very good life. But you got to be locked in and on at all times. To call a UFC fight a lock is absurd. We've seen minus 1,000s lose in an instant. We've seen live odds of minus 2,000 lose on the scorecards. We've seen undefeated fighters go to sleep in 30 seconds. It is so volatile that it's not for the weak. It's not for the weak. You don't belong here. So when you see us hitting, I had a guy write me and he's like, big deal. Big deal, you hit on some minus 400s. And I just look, I'm just like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You have no clue what you're doing in the world of gambling. I promise you. It's crazy. And I'm saying that I'm shutting off my live stream on TikTok right now because you can't talk gambling on TikTok. On TikTok Live, you can't do it. I'll get banned or a violation. But anyways, thank you to the MVPs who come to the Discord server, who understand the levity of the situation and understand how good it is to get everything right in a night. It doesn't matter if they're minus 400. You know, I'm doing parlays right now for futures bets, and I'm betting big. And for me, I don't gamble. I gamble once or twice a year, and when I do, I make them count. Shout out to Indiana, Vanderbilt, Colorado last year, but the Olympics, things like that. So when I'm sending Kim up to Virginia, it feels pretty good. What I'm telling you guys is if I ever sit down and tell you, hey, I'm going to do this parlay in college football, you might think it's a parlay for like plus 400 or plus 800 or something like that. No, it's a minus 200 parlay. It's a minus 150 parlay. And that's exactly how I get down. And it'll be for multiple units. The return on my investment is far greater than that of the stock market or real estate. It is a definite lock for me. And that's the way I feel. Okay? So I'm saying that because on this fight card, there were fights that I felt so strongly about, but obviously the odds weren't in our favor to make a lot of money. But they could be if I tell you that's a lock and there's no way that's not hidden, right? And we'll talk about this after I assess all the fighters, but this is a very good night. Some people see red here and they don't know you don't know what you're doing. This is an extremely good night. If you weren't green at the end of this night, you're not a good gambler. You don't know what you're doing. You really need to rethink your strat. I'm letting you know. You're all gas, no brakes. For you to hit on every single lock and then give it all away in the next 3 out of 4 fights is absurd. It's silly. It's dumb. You're actually betting on the best fighters on the card against each other, which is just dumb. You'd much rather go over here and bet where there's scrubs and get it right. Yeah. Is Alabama going to beat South Florida? I think so. You're much better betting on that than Alabama against LSU. That sounds stupid. You understand the difference? Okay. So, let's talk about these fights, though, because we always got to keep our notes fresh for the fights. Before the fight, if you were watching the live stream, shout out to the MVPs, and I know we saved some people money on this. If you were watching the fights before the live stream, or on the live stream, excuse me, right before the fight started, they said Cody Brundage was a minus 200 going into the cage. And I just laughed. And look at this. It says pre-fight odds minus 235. I laughed, and I said out loud, guys, Cody Brundage has never been a minus 200 fighter, not even in his wins. Understand what I'm saying? Even when he wins a fight, he doesn't look like a minus 200 fighter. He will never be a minus 200 fighter. That is not who Cody Brundage is. You cannot believe that hype at all. And here he is. He loses to Eric McConaughey, who in the last fight of his life, he only threw 6 strikes. So we'll start with Cody Brundage. Before the fights, I told you guys I thought it was a good bet if he was at minus 160. There's a huge difference. There really is. When the odds go to a certain extent, you just can't believe in that fighter anymore. It's called EV, expected value, estimated value, however you want to say it. My expected value on certain fighters, I expect him to never be a minus 200 or greater. He's just not that guy. Doesn't matter who it is or what it is. Very limited in his ability to fight. And what it really comes down to is I think in the initial exchange in this fight, he was put on Queer Street. That's what we called it as a kid. If you went on the football field and you thought you were tough, the first time you got hit, from then on, you were just curling up a little ball. You were on Q Street, Queer Street. I don't know what that means. I don't want you to get offended. Those of you out there who are homosexual or live an alternate lifestyle, I really don't give a shit. It's just what we called it, bro. We also used to say smear the queer. And we used to throw a football in the air, go catch it, run around. If you got tackled, you had to throw it up again. It was smear the queer. I don't know what you called it. Don't try to push your shit on me. I'm just letting you know. Cody Brundage is on Queer Street, bro. The first exchange from Eric McConaughey, he threw the biggest right you've ever seen and just brought it to him. And from then on, Cody Brundage was just a little scared to scrap. These judges are ridiculous. If you know a fight is going to the judges from now on, if you know a fight is going to the judges, you got to take the underdog. Just out of sheer probability, right? Like, I don't know. You got to fade it, avoid it, do something. Because this is nuts, bro. McConaughey clearly won this fight. And the dude had it 30-27. 30-27 for Brundage. Whoever that was, insider trading, that dude out there, he was on the split decision for sure. I guess you can gamble on split decision somewhere. I don't know. But Eric McConaughey, insane. Eric McConaughey, not a very good fighter either. Very limited. Just doesn't have it. This is a low-level fight. I think these guys should be cut from the UFC. Both of them, even the winner. I think they're gross. Next fight, Gabriela Hernandez against Juliana Staralenko. Before the fight, I told you guys Staralenko is Ronda Rousey, is a jiu-jitsu nerd who's trying to pretend like she can strike, trying to be in modern MMA, and you can't. She has 11 wins. 10 of them are by submission. 10 of them are arm bars. She can't win any other way. So if you know a fighter has no other path to victory and can't win any other way, you can't bet on her. You can't believe in her. This felt like a definite lock. Obviously, it was a lock. I was just so confident in it. I know Fernandez is strong like a dude and can pull herself out of anything, even if she was caught. But let's talk about it. I don't like the way Fernandez looked in this fight. She looked a little rigid. She looked a little robotic. And as you go up in the rankings and you start fighting other fighters, better fighters, I don't think her fluidity is there equivalent to some of the other fighters. So we'll see how it goes. Vegas obviously loves her because she's strong and she beat Wayne Kong and she's got a great, I guess, 3-fight winning streak right now. I get it, but careful. Who are they going to put her up against? Who in the upper echelon is she going to fight? It's probably going to be time to fade her at some point. You got to buy high on somebody else or sell when she's this high, right? So you just got to stay away from it. And Staralenko, every time you see her, just know she's not real. We could just always pick whoever she's fighting. She's a 50-50 fighter, bro. How are you in the UFC 11-10? 11-10. That's wild. Have you seen anybody in the UFC with a losing record? She's one fight away from being in a losing record because she ain't winning her next fight. So she needs to be cut. Shout out to Lithuania. They suck. And Gabriela Fernandez, yoked out, can throw them things, but there's just something to her dexterity is that of a rhino. She's just a little too rigid for me. It bothers me. Eurosmatic and Gilbert Urbina. I told you knee-jerk reaction when I first saw this fight is if I see Gilbert Urbina's name on a fight schedule, fight card, the first thing I think is we're fading him. He can't fight. He's not real. And even though he looks like an MMA fighter, he trains with MMA fighters, he does what MMA fighters do, he's not a genuine MMA fighter. Like people always say, go out and die on your shield or die on your sword or whatever. This dude's been dead. There's no getting up. This guy's he got no chin, can be cracked all day, and he even started this fight with a phenomenal strike. And shout out to Jay Ramirez, one of our MVPs. He wrote to me and was like, Rico, this was before the fight. He said, Rico, I really like Eurosmatic, but man, he always does this leaning thing to the left. He does this leaning thing so he can get kicked or hit, and Urbina can kick or hit and all this. And I'm like, I hear you, bro. Here's what Eurosmatic does. Eurosmatic, if you've ever seen somebody at the arcade, I think maybe Dave and Buster's. I know when I take my daughter to the K1 go-kart racing track, I take both two of my daughters to the go-kart racing tracks. I take their entire teams with them. It's quite a hefty bill. But let's say I want to take my daughter go-kart racing, and it's going to cost me $800. But I take them go-kart racing, and there's this, while we wait for the go-karts, there's this machine where you can punch the bag as hard as you can to measure how hard you punch. And you've ever seen it? It just comes down that little punchy bag, and then you got to hit. I seen Conor McGregor miss it, and some other guys try to hit it. That's what Eurosmatic does in real fights. Like, he swings as hard as he can, like it's being measured on that bag, with no regard for himself. Like, Eurosmatic doesn't defend himself at all. So, not being defensively responsible is crazy. So it's very reckless. Obviously got clipped, was able to get back up as opposed to the last time he got clipped by Soriano and he couldn't get back up. But you got to know this about Eurosmatic. The number one lock out there is this fight is not going to the distance. This fight is not going the distance. Every time Eurosmatic's fought, he's never been the distance. His losses are 1 knockout and 2 submissions. That he's been defeated 3 times. And then his wins, I think he's got 2 wins by submission and then 9 knockout wins. Dude's vicious. Dude is absolutely vicious. And he hits like a train. You see this 6 strikes landed. And just put that dude to sleep. I thought it was impressive as hell. But just know what you're dealing with here. You're dealing with dynamite. And Gilbert Urbina, we should not see again. This is another 7-5 guy. Gilbert Urbina should be a last-second replacement if they can't find anybody else breathing. Seriously, find a guy from Contender Series. Find anything you can. By the way, Contender Series, Tuesday. We will be there. We will be putting out fight picks for Tuesday. Let's go. Jocelyn Edwards and Priscilla Cachoeira. Jocelyn Edwards, I told you we like when she's grappling because she always spreads that big ass of hers. But listen, this girl has been learning how to scrap. She's been learning how to throw. The last 2 fights now. She beat up Chelsea Chandler with her hands. And here she fights Priscilla Cachoeira, who can scrap, who can throw. Oh my God, Priscilla can't defend herself at all. Much worse than anything I was just talking about, Euros Medic and them. Priscilla's hands are right where they're at right now. In this picture, she's posing in this picture. That's her fight stance. You know, what we used to tell our guys when we were in the gym is protect yourself at all times, protect your jawline, keep your chin tucked, all that stuff. Well, when we're doing drills, we'll say ready, and when you say ready, everybody's supposed to get in a fight stance. And fight stance means pick your hands up, put them by your chin, you know, your jawline, protect yourself, let's go, fight stance. Priscilla Cachoeira's fight stance is right there. It's her hands down there. She puts one hand up and leaves one hand down. It's really weird. It's like she trains like this. So when she gets in there, she fights like that, and it's just, you get clean the fuck out. And that's exactly what happened. She caught a nice 2-piece combo. Jocelyn Edwards beat her the hell up. I will say this about Jocelyn. Jocelyn was not strong enough to get the takedown that she wanted or would have preferred to win this fight. When the fight first started, the first thing Jocelyn did was shoot for a takedown before any strikes landed. And I said, yes, this is good, because that means in the coaching meeting and in their strategy, they said, let's get this to the ground and go out there and do it. Now, it didn't get to the ground, but I knew her mentality was there. Another thing I want to give Edwards credit for is when the takedown didn't work, she didn't just go out there and start bending over at the waist trying to get takedowns and just end up crotch sniffing for the whole first round. And we've seen that a million times. Guys trying to get takedowns, they just stay down there and exhaust themselves. No, Jocelyn Edwards adapted and adjusted in the cage. I love that. That is real fight IQ. And that is self-confidence, if you will. She understood that, hey, I got to stand up and bang. And the minute she felt the power of Cachoeira a few times and she saw that she was landing, she said, the hell with it. We're not going to shoot for takedowns anymore. Let me just scrap. I got this. And that's reps in the gym. When you're a grappler or a wrestler and you have to adjust and shift your strategy to striking, there's got to be some type of natural fluidity or being comfortable in that fight stance. And she did it just perfect. So very impressed with the way Jocelyn Edwards was doing things. She looked good. Vegas is going to do us no favors. I don't know who she fights next, but they really like her. And the odds are going to be like this. But, man, if you're looking at Cachoeira, I need her to go fight a straight bum. I need her to go fight another Sterilenko or something like that before I believe in her. And even if she was fighting Sterilenko, I think she might get caught in an armbar because she's so dumb. This girl's not a real fighter, and this is a exceptional fighter who's getting better. A young fighter who's getting better for sure. Shout out to her. Next fight, Elijah Smith and Kazama. I told you Kazama has no chin. He is a jiu-jitsu nerd who doesn't know when to strike. He has no chin, and Elijah Smith's just athletic enough to get whatever he wants. And before this fight started, on the live stream, shout out to the MVPs if you were watching on the Discord, I told the MVPs, hey, first round knockout. First round knockout. Now listen, I make a video, I make my analysis, I say what I say, and then right there on the live stream, for every MVP that was there, maybe 30, 40 of them, I said, yo guys, first round knockout. I think Elijah Smith's going to do this because I just know Kazama ain't shit. And then the fight starts. And Kazama's annoying. And he's grappling, and he's trying to hold you down. Well, look, we don't need any more assessment of Kazama ever again because I don't think he'll ever fight again. The dude threw 2 strikes in 4 minutes because he was too busy doing a grappling match. He thought it was jiu-jitsu, and he thought it was no-gi day. You guys know what I'm talking about? You go to jiu-jitsu, there are days where you wear a gi, then there's no gi. And when you're wearing no gi, you look like these MMA fighters. You're topless, you're out there rolling, and you don't have a gi on. Well, some of you are wearing T-shirts, hopefully. But the point I'm trying to make is no one's getting punched in the face. No one's getting, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I'm training for fights If a guy walks in and tells me he's a black belt in Taekwondo, anything ending in do, I know he's never been punched in the face. I don't care. I don't care what you are. You're about to get fucking handled. There's going to be real ground and pound right now, and you're not ready for it. So you could be a black belt in jiu-jitsu for all I care. You go out here. This is why Hoist Gracie doesn't exist anymore. This is why the Gracies don't exist in the UFC anymore. Jiu-jitsu's not good enough to win in the UFC. It's called MMA, mixed martial arts. You got to mix everything. Boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, judo throws, wrestling, and then obviously jiu-jitsu. You got to mix everything. And Elijah Smith has everything. Elijah Smith has it. He's athletic. He's doing everything. So while they're in these jiu-jitsu positions, notice Elijah Smith is very aggressive and landing strikes while rolling and trying to keep his ankle free, his knee free, trying to keep a guard, he's doing everything right. It was very impressive. And I also liked that his corner was telling him heavy hips, which is the right guidance not to get lifted, butterfly guard, swept, any of these things. He's doing everything right, and he's listening to his corner, doing damage when he can, when he needs to. And then obviously the way the fight ends is a guard slam. Now, guard slam's an incredibly effective maneuver in the street. I know I teach it when I teach hand-to-hand combat in the military for 20 years. I would teach guard slamming in the street was no problem. This is what we want to do. Drop somebody on the asphalt and let's go. But in a cage, on a padded floor, guard slamming is a no-no. It's a jiu-jitsu no-no. It's a no-no in a sport where striking isn't allowed. But he did it correctly. Dropped him straight on his head, and he did whatever he needed to do and put this guy to sleep. I'm going to tell you, Elijah Smith's ability to lift a man while in his guard is utterly silly. That's crazy. But at the same time, Kazama's an idiot for not letting go of the guard. And I know the announcers talked about it after the fight. I had an MVP ask me about it mid-fight. And the first thing I said, all he's got to do is stand up. When a guy picks you up, you have your legs wrapped around him. All you have to do is let go of your legs, and you're back on your feet. It's kind of like if you're on somebody's giving you a piggyback ride, and you're about to fall. What can you do? Just put your legs back on the ground. You're fine. Yeah, Kazama's trash. Elijah Smith is very explosive and young athletic guy. But listen, I've said it again. I'll say it over and over. There are limitations to Elijah Smith mentally. He's not built like that. He's not that warrior mentality in the third round. His coach has got to get him motivated to get through that third round. We're going to keep seeing him fight. They're going to keep him on that trajectory. Give him some regional fighters, some guys who are low-level card, and keep giving him up here. So we can't really bet on Elijah Smith for a while because these odds are going to be stupid for a while. But eventually we're going to fade him. He's going to have to fight some elite guys that's going to be in trouble. Speaking of elite, neither one of these motherfuckers is elite, man. Shout out to Julius Walker finding a way to win. A minus 750 favorite. How embarrassing. Vegas keeps making this guy a favorite by an astronomical amount, and I'll never understand it. Nothing he does is that great. Now, he is a jiu-jitsu nerd. He doesn't know when to strike. He was out there just whatever, man. He won the fight. Sakara understood what I said about him. I think Sakara watched my video, and he got upset, and he went out there to go throw something really hard, and he really brought it. He punched as hard as he could, did exactly what he does to the cab drivers, and crushed all the cans he could. But Julius Walker, a little more resilient than that. Didn't get knocked out, but got absolutely dazed, got rocked. But Julius Walker's just got a little dog to him. He does. He can grapple. He's going to get through it. If you're ABC, man, if there was ever a time to talk about ABC, it's this fight card. Always bet cardio is what ABC means. And Julius Walker had cardio for days and was able to push through. But, Sakara wasn't terrible. He might get to finish out his contract because of that performance. I still don't believe in Sakara at all. I think he's a fraud. And Julius Walker, man, if Vegas is going to keep giving us odds like this, we're going to get rich. Because the next time he fights somebody with any ability to scrap, I mean, it's on. So, shout out to Julius Walker. He sucks. He sucks, and he won the fight. I can't believe in him. 11 minutes control time, and I'm sitting here saying he sucks. Yeah, that's crazy. Eric Anders, Christian Leroy Duncan, talked about it before the fight. I felt like Christian Leroy Duncan was winning this fight. I didn't want to make it a lock. I didn't want to get too crazy because the odds were already stupid at minus 500. He's just an explosive athlete, and he's way faster, And I told you that Eric Anders is a brawler. He's a tough dude. Eric Anders is a gangster, man. We know what he is. But Christian Leroy Duncan's special. He can do things that cause other fighters to second guess themselves. And I'm talking about the feints, his ability to strike from either stance, switch his stance. He's powerful. Everything hurts. As long as he's not implementing a wrestling game plan, Christian Leroy Duncan's really, really nice. So Eric Anders didn't have what it takes to go and make him a wrestler, and that's that. Now, don't sleep on Eric Anders. He's still tough. They're still going to give him a prelim fight here in the future. Like, that's what Eric Anders does. He just gets in there and beats up another marginal UFC fighter. And he's made a long career of doing this. But Christian Leroy Duncan, I think, right, there's levels in the UFC. There's the prelim guys. There's the guys who want to be somebody. And then there's the people who are somebody. And I think that Christian Leroy Duncan wants to be somebody. And there's just levels to this. And shout out to him. He looks sharp. I just wish the odds weren't the way they were. It's these multi-leg parlays ruining it for us, but it's all good. We got it right, and getting it right is what matters. Shout out to the Rico Knows Bet of the night. It is very difficult, and you got to be careful, but I felt like this was the closest the odds were, where I felt like I knew who the better fighter was, right? So Gene Matsumoto versus Miles Johns. Miles Johns came out to bang. He threw things hard, fought well. It was a split decision here. It was nail-biter. It was pretty tough. But I thought Gene Matsumoto won the fight. He definitely won the second and third round in my book. He looked the part. The judges were all over the place on this. No judges agreed all the way across the board on any round. Seriously, they even gave Matsumoto the first round, which is absurd. The only guy who gave Miles Johns the fight gave Matsumoto the first round, and then gave Miles Johns the next two rounds, which is stupid. He did not win the next two rounds. And then the other two judges are crazy because they gave Matsumoto the first round. It's just crazy. It is insane the way it all worked out. But we'll take the win. We'll take it. What I will say about Gene Matsumoto is if he's not going to get a takedown and he's just going to be striking, he's got to find more combos. Gene Matsumoto is clean with his movement. He's really fast. He strikes hard with his jab or his cross, but he wasn't throwing combos in this fight. I don't like one-punch guys. You got to throw combos, finish with the kick. This should be muscle memory for you. This needs to happen. The combos actually fend the defender off for longer periods of time and make them reset, and then you can rest longer. But if you just throw one jab, that's not enough for me. One cross, terrible idea, right? So I didn't like that from Gene Matsumoto. He's been using these one-punch pot-belly techniques that I don't like. And Miles Johns is a little tougher than I thought. Obviously, you guys got to remember this. He's 15-4. He's not accustomed to losing. So he's going to go out there and fight pretty good. I think he'll respect your coin if you believe in Miles Johns moving forward. I wonder who he fights next. But just remember that. He's 15-4. He doesn't lose often. So he knows how to win. He's scrappy. He's going to go out there. He's game. You won't be disappointed if you bet on him because you know he respects your coin. Gene Matsumoto, he's going to be fighting some of the best fighters in the world, and it's going to be tough to take him next time. So careful with that. But congrats to the MVPs. That was the Rico Knows Bet of the night. And like I said, we've only missed 2 all year. Yeah, we're getting those right. Next fight, the one of 2 underdogs that won on this entire card, and it was Andre Fili beating Christian Rodriguez. Fili was the underdog. He just schooled him. And look, Christian Rodriguez is beating a lot of prospects on the undercards, but when you get up here to these better fighters, there's just a little more fluidity to their movement, and it looked like Andre Fili cared about this fight. Like I told you, he hasn't looked like the real Andre Fili that we've known for years upon years. He's 35 years old, and then he shows up here and he has a vintage performance. I wish I would have predicted it, wish I would have seen it, but it is what it is. At the same time, Christian Rodriguez, his weapon is to beat you up with pace. And with pace, you can put it on his face, right? You can just beat him up. He doesn't wear damage well, and he's just not that gifted athletically. There's a reason he was on the prelims, fighting all those up-and-coming guys. He was supposed to be mincemeat for every single one of those prospects. Chris Rodriguez is supposed to be the stepping stone for those guys because they can see the limitations in his athletic ability. And then here we go. We get robbed. Not robbed. We just get in a bad position where we don't know who to take, the aging star or the gatekeeper. And the aging star found a way to win. Congratulations to Andre Fili. I still don't think he's an exceptional fighter nowadays as much as he used to be. But if Vegas isn't going to respect him, we might have to go that route. Christian Rodriguez got way too much credit. Let's see who he fights next. But it's probably going to be somebody who's really explosive who can go out there and just crack you. So we'll find out. Isman Lucindo versus Angela Hill. Took a stab at an underdog. Only 2 underdogs won on the entire card, and we didn't get it right. Shout out to Angela Hill. She's always a professional. She's always out there trying. The lock on this fight was it's going to go the distance. I know Angela Hill's not getting knocked out, and I highly doubt she's knocking out Lucindo, and I highly doubt we're getting a submission here. So it was just knowing it's a lock, but it was a minus 600. So what do you do with that? You got to parlay it somewhere, something like that. But it is what it is. At the same time, Lucindo finds a way to win. Let's not forget, Lucindo is very, very strong. Very strong for the weight class. She looked way bigger than Angela Hill. Angela Hill she's 40, bro. She needs to stop. I'm 42. I know what it is. You got to stop. Take a break. Relax. It's not necessary. So, sucks. Wanted Angela Hill to win for us. We know who Angela Hill is. We've seen her fight over 30 times. Like, I know who she is. It's all good. Lucindo's still learning. She's only 23 years old. She's getting better. I was really impressed with some of her jiu-jitsu and some of her ability to grapple, especially in the clinch up against the cage. She just looks strong. And then the striking, well, she's just going to go through things and just go. But I think she has pillows for fists. Like, it looks vicious and it looks painful, but she got pillows for fists because she's not putting people down. She needs to put people down if I really want to believe in her. But girls' fights going to the judges, all it has to do is optically look good, right? So, shout out to Lucindo. It is what it is. The biggest fraud of all time. Steve Erceg. Steve Erceg minus 650 favorite. At some point, minus 800 favorite. And then O'Day Osborne, a plus 425 underdog. A large part of me wanted to believe in O'Day Osborne going into this fight. Large part of me. I'm telling you guys that right now. And I felt like O'Day Osborne did himself some justice. He is super fast. He is mean. He cracks people. And he made Steve Erceg look silly for what he is. You know what Steve Erceg reminds me of? Steve Erceg reminds me of 1940s baseball players. Seriously. Maybe 1930s. Ty Cobb. Lou Gehrig. Joe DiMaggio. I'm trying to think. I don't want to go too far here. But listen to me. All those guys were great baseball players. They really were. Because there was nobody of any color playing in the league. There were no Hispanic players. There were no black players. So it was just all these guys. And they were great. Think of basketball and all these guys. And then out of nowhere, you started integrating sports, and now we saw real athletes in the sport. And now now we call these guys insurance salesmen, right? Go pick a wide receiver from Utah State. Go pick a wide receiver from the MAC that nobody's ever. Ball State. They're pretty good until you get to the real ones. I think Steve Erceg in Australia is a phenomenal boxer. I bet he's great. He's slick boxing. He's quick. He's got dynamic movement. They call him whatever they call him. All that shit. But when you get into the UFC around real athletes, there's a huge speed discrepancy. There's a huge ability gap there. And I think Steve Erceg has had the luxury of beating up on lesser athletic people. Like, I watched him kick over O'Day Osborne's head. He's so flexible, he can kick over his head. He missed a head kick by going over his head. That's incredible, right? That's cool and everything. But what if you run into a guy that can really kick? What if you run into a Brazilian that can just kick the shit out of you? Right? What if you run into a guy from Jamaica who can just throw a lightning fast combo and you can't do anything about it? So I wanted the reason I'm bringing this up is I think Steve Erceg is a good fighter. He's good for being who he is, but he's not a world-class athlete. And don't get me wrong, he's in the UFC. He's one of the best fighters in the world and all this stuff. I'm talking about there's levels to this in the UFC. And if you want to identify the great strikers, the great boxers, you're going to have to be very selective on who you choose. And then you can have great grapplers over here or whatever, right? So what I'm saying is Steve Erceg, he's known for his boxing. Well, when he got into this fight, his boxing was not going to save him a day in his life. Like, he had no chance of boxing here. No way in hell. And he's known for his boxing. I think this happens to the fighters in England, too. We get some of these dudes off of fucking Ireland and Welsh and all these other places, and then they get into the mainland, and then you got to go fight Christian Leroy Duncan. and you got to go fight a French fighter who just migrated from Senegalese or some shit. You run into some monsters, and there's no way for you to compete physically. You're not there genetically. So I think Steve Erceg has some limitations there. But let's talk about it. He's got a little bit of dog in him. A little bit, not enough for me to believe in him. Not enough for me to believe in these odds. Not enough for me to say put your money on him. Not at all. But he does have a little dog in him because he was getting his ass kicked. He changed his strategy in the moment and started shooting around, grappling, and he's way better grappling. Now, yeah, that final round probably should have been a 10-8 round because he was saved by the bell. O'Day Osborne was saved by the bell. This fight was over. Rear naked choke, in trouble. O'Day Osborne obviously got tired, took the fight on short notice. I think he did himself justice. I think O'Day Osborne showing up, scrapping the way he did himself justice. And I got a lot of respect for him. Obviously, the last time he was in the cage, we predicted him to win by knockout, and he did. So as an underdog. So this is a couple times now we've seen Osborne come out here. Vegas does not respect him because he's just a one-punch guy. He's just a dynamic striker in that regard. Fine, bro. I like him. I like him a lot. So after watching this fight and Steve Erceg winning, I walked out of there going, I like O'Day Osborne a lot more than I like Steve Erceg, even though Steve Erceg won the fight. Because it's just, at minus 650, this is stupid. You will not make a living doing this. You'll be eating a whole lot of ramen. Whole lot of motherfucking ramen betting on Steve Erceg at those odds. Osborne over here is lobster. Lobster and shrimp. By the way, I'm taking Kim out tonight. And then we have the main event. Roman Dolidze versus Anthony Hernandez. I've never been more wrong in my life. I don't think I've been more wrong in my life. I was sitting there watching it, and I couldn't believe how far I was from being correct. And I mean this. I astronomically wrong. Like, there's times I pick a pick, and then the guy loses or whatever. It doesn't quite come out to the way I envisioned. This was fucking a mile off. And you just got to sit there and own it. And I got to watch this. For the next 4 rounds, I got to watch this for 20 minutes. I just had to sit there like, yo, I picked the guy. Roman Dolidze is buff. He was way bigger than Fluffy Hernandez. True story. After we stopped recording last night, after the live stream, I pack up shop. I close up the studio. I go downstairs and walk across the house to the other side of the house. And Kim was already in bed. And Kim was watching the fights up until the Angela Hill fight. Girls are boring to her. She's like, I'm out of here. So she was in the loft right next door to the studio here. She was watching the fights upstairs up here. She then went downstairs, went to bed, lay down with Ash. And her and Ash usually watch a crime documentary. Well, apparently they were watching a crime documentary, and it was Anthony Hernandez beating the shit out of Roman Dolidze. She was watching the fights downstairs. I didn't expect that. I didn't know she was doing that. And as soon as I got to the room, she looked at me and said, Fluffy Hernandez is a bad dude. And I just looked at her and I just went, thanks. Thanks for letting me know I missed. She goes, oh, you picked the other guy? Hey, your own girl. She checked me right there on the spot. She's like, how? How did you pick that? I said, he's so much bigger, stronger. He's this, that. I said, but man, I tell the guys ABC every day. ABC, always bet cardio, always bet cardio. And then I go give them this lecture about how the cardio is not going to matter because Dolidze is just going to rock this dude and knock him out and all this stuff. Man, Anthony Hernandez was fast, crisp, was whooping that ass. Roman Dolidze wasn't ready for a 5-round fight. He wasn't ready for a 2-round fight. He was exhausted in the first round. It was insane. It was absolutely ridiculous. Shout out to Fluffy Hernandez. It was one of the more dominant performances you'll ever see. I wonder who he fights next. Maybe it's DDR. Like, I don't know. Or RDR. Rainer de Ritter. Maybe it's RDR. I don't know who he gets, but it doesn't matter who he gets. I think we're going to have to take him. It'll probably be a main event. So, therefore, it'll be another 5 rounds. Dude's got a chin. He took strikes to the face. He didn't get knocked out. He didn't get flustered. I'm so impressed with Anthony Hernandez. I'm so disappointed with myself. But yeah, man, it's life. You gotta pick one of the two, and one guy You know, if we were at middle school and we were trying to pick one guy who's going to win the fight, and we saw two dudes going to meet up for a fight after school, you would pick Roman Dolidze, 10 out of 10. In this particular case, though, I do want to say one thing. I was talking to the MVPs before the fight, and I said full disclosure. I keep saying that over and over, full disclosure. Maybe full transparency. I said if the odds were flipped the other way, like let's say Roman Dolidze was a minus 200 favorite and Fluffy Hernandez was a plus 200 underdog, we would take every dime we have and put it on Fluffy Hernandez. I would have picked Fluffy Hernandez. So sometimes I want to pick a fighter. Sometimes I want to, but the odds dictate that we can't. And that's just the nature of capping. But I want you to be aware that in the UFC, it doesn't matter, right? There's no moral victories here. There's no, I mean, you could if you go to the judges and say they're going to cover the spread and do a plus 3.5. Who cares about that? What I'm saying is there's really no moral victories. So I just got to get it right. You just got to pick the winner. And it sucks when you miss on a main event. I've only missed so far this year. I think that was my 6th miss on the main event. So there's been a few fight cards, if you haven't noticed. There's been all these fight cards down here. I think there's 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm 20-6 on main events this year when picking them. So something to think about. From a gambling perspective, pretty good night if you know what you're doing when you read this chart. Everybody needs to understand. All the white text you see, those were green locks when we started. So we had 6 locks on the night, went undefeated on those, improved our record to 74% on locks. Yes, we're down. Last year, our locks were hitting at 83%. The reality is there's been a ton of upsets in the UFC up until this point, and we've just been off by about 10%. It's not the end of the world, but if you parlay, you're going to lose your ass. And that's the reality of the situation. I know a lot of people parlay these fights because of what they are, but I just need you to be more comfortable with ROIs in a more realistic sense, right? Like if you had a hobby and they told you were going to get 30% back, you'd be just fine. But even an investment, a stock, you would buy it like crazy if you knew you were getting a 30% ROI. If you had a saving account, you would do everything you could to put money in there or a mutual fund that was giving you back 30% ROI. Yet when we go to gambling, none of you want to hear about a 30%. You guys want to hear about 100% or more or 300%. So it's just greed and ignorance. I'm showing you guys this again. We went 3-1 on parlays on this particular card. That means we improved to 38%. Incredible. 38% on parlays. You're not going to make a living parlaying the world. You're just not. I promise you, okay? The leans are set at 67%. We did go 50-50 on leans, 2 for 2. We hit 2 of them, Urseg and Medic, and then we missed on Brundage and Rodriguez. That sucks. I want to try to get those right, but all in all, in the season, we're still up right around where we were last year. I think last year it was 66%. And then the value bets. Last year, 38% is where we ended on the season. We're currently at 40, trying to keep it above 40. They're tough, man. They're the purples. We missed. We went 0-2 there. So it is what it is. We're really knocking out the park, though. We're getting back up off the mat. Props. We had some lock props here. A double chance for Christian Leroy Duncan to win by either TKO or points. It was a minus 440. No big deal. Angela Hill and the girls going the distance. It was a minus 600. And those were our 2 lock props for the night. We got those right. The lock parlay hit, the top one. The second lock parlay missed. Shout out to Cody Brundage's bum ass. But that's fine. All in all, improved parlay props and leans. We've been getting all these black right. If you see a black lean on this card, on this chart, if you see a black lean and you are not intelligently tailing it some way, shape, or form, I don't know what to tell you, man. We're hitting the black leans at 58.5%. We're hitting black props. That's a black prop right there. Not go the distance. That's a black prop right there. Medic, TKO, or points. Yes, the not go the distance for this might have been a minus 800. I don't know. But this one here was probably very advantageous to you. You can parlay them. You can do other things with them. The double chances you can parlay. But I don't care about the percentages right now or the ROI or the odds. Like, I just want you to understand that if I put it in black, that means I think it's going to happen. But I don't want you to parlay it with anything. That's what that means. So just go throw $40 on it. Who gives a shit? And if you get back $8, it's going to happen. It's going to hit. Trust. Now, we've missed a few. Just trust, man. All right. Parlay value props, 34%. Those are the purples. That's the purple up there. You see it. And it missed. We missed one parlay, and then we hit a parlay here. So we went 1-1. We're at 34%. It's all the get-rich-quick scheme ones. It's all the ones you're thinking about. For knockout in the first round, it's all those are these at 34%. That's why they never hit. And then overall, our props have been at 54%. Pretty damn good. Shout out to the MVPs. All right, guys. So we do have Dana White Contender Series on Tuesday. I'm going to be out of the office Thursday. And we have the college football season coming as soon as possible. Hey, I am doing futures bets. They are being posted on Patreon. Please get a hold of them. I've already put in, I want to tell you, I'm already 8,000 in. I don't know what that means to you guys, but I can tell you right now, I have spent 80 units of the 100 units that I intend to spend. I have a $10,000 bankroll. I don't go above it. I don't care how rich I am. I don't care how much money I got. This is what I set to the side. This is all I use for gambling, nothing else, and I'll never add to it. That's the discipline I have as a gambler. Okay, so my bankroll is $10,000. So when you hear me talk about units, you hear me talk about numbers, I'm good. Well, I'm letting you know now. I've already spent 8,000 of it on 2 parlays for futures bets that I feel 100% comfortable with. 8,000. I've already posted them on the Discord server, and I will be posting them on Patreon soon. But get on the Discord server, MVPs. You already have access to it. You just have to do connected apps. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Watch the pinned video on Patreon. It'll tell you how to get on there. Go on.